Sphinx, Egyptian. But there's also Greek, Indian, many different sphinxes, but we're interested in the Egyptian Sphinx today, maybe in the future. If this section will be interesting to you, we will talk about other types of sphinxes as well. If we climb into Wikipedia, then we read the following. A line, not even lines. In ancient Egyptian art, an animal with the body of a lion, the head of a man, or less commonly, the head of a falcon or a ram. That's it. No more comments. You've probably heard all sorts of nonsense about the sphinxes maintaining peace. Such pyramids and pharaohs sleeping in these pyramids. Dizzying nonsense, and we're going to have to talk about it, but in a good sense of the word. We have yet to find out. What's the riddle of the Sphinx? She really likes this phrase. It's become a meme. It's become such a worn-out phrase. But there is indeed this mystery in both the Sphinx near the pyramids and this Sphinx with the woman's face in St. Petersburg. And here's the thing, which we encounter in Vienna in the Historical Art Museum. Let's read the inscription. It's interesting what's written. King Amenhotep III, in the image of a sphinx, New Kingdom, 18th dynasty, reign of Amenhotep III, 1410-1372 BC. Fragment of the statue of Sphinx of King Amenhotep III, only the shoulders of the lion's body have actually been preserved. The high-quality carving favorably highlights the distinctive physiognomy of the ruler, the throne, and personal names of which are inscribed in cartouches. Despite the minutest details being worked out, only traces of the initial sketch remained. That is, he was also painted. Here he is in the foreground. Indeed, the body of a lion, although it is not read here, but we will see other examples, and the head of a human, but not just a human. And the pharaoh is not just a man, but he is not a demigod either. If we dig into Egyptian religion, unlike the ancient man, the Egyptians had a revolution. What is religion? Let me remind you, it's a trade with the deity about the afterlife. It's a solution to the question of the deceased's afterlife. If this issue is not on the agenda, then we are talking about worldview, about shamanism, but never a release. Here's another specimen, also God willing, from the Vienna Museum of Art History. Yes, the Sphinx of Sargon I, the third intermediate period, the 22nd dynasty, the reign of Sargon I, 910 and 896 BC, presumably from Lower Egypt, acquired by the Vienna Museum in 1872. And here is the same story. Here, let's think carefully what motivated the Egyptian artist depicting the pharaoh with the body of a lion, but the head of a pharaoh. Well, you might say, well, what's there to speculate about? It's all very simple. Lion, king of beasts. And all of this is kind of a representation that Pharaoh is the king of Egypt. Yep. Well, yes, partly true. And this picture, which has already been on the screen. And again, I'm leading him out. There are actually two of them from the British Museum. These two lions. Well, the mane is broken. Well, you understand clearly. It was here. It is seen, but it is no longer there. Well, what can you do? And what is this? Is this a sphinx? This is a sphinx, but it's just a lion. For beauty, no, it's a sphinx. The sphinx is still the same, and Amenhotep III. Well, he must have been a cool guy. How so? Where is the head of the pharaoh himself, Annette? And here is the whole lion. Something is wrong here. And indeed, a mystery begins to form little by little. Indeed, why do some... there is a lion's body with a head, for others just a whole lion. Let's read the museum inscription. Interesting. This is the British Museum, London. I specially photographed them in pairs to show in the class. Ser Amenhotep III in the form of a lion. This statue proclaims the power of the pharaoh, representing him as a lion. Pharaohs were often depicted as sphinxes with lions' bodies, but full lion images are exceptionally rare. The inscription on the chest was added by Amenhotep IV. He calls the pharaoh the lion of rulers, wild when he sees his enemies going his way. The sculptures are celebrated for their realistic anatomical details and differ from the frontal part of most sculptures. Egyptian statues, which originally had eyes, they are inlaid. But as for how Amenhotep III ordered these statues, what financial stories are associated with this, I won't tell you, not to waste your or my time. And so everything becomes completely wrong. In one case like this, in another like that, what should we, poor souls, think about it at all? Right here. I have to make a sharp turn that will simply stun you. Actually, the only sphinx that has right to exist is this one. No. Take a note to the body of a lion, but the head of a falcon. This is a real sphinx. British Museum label, British Museum label. It's very sparse. The sandstone sphinx with a falcon head from the 19th dynasty around 1250 BC. Abu Simbel is a great temple. One of the pair of sphinxes found in the Great Hall of Ramses Tech. That's all, not a word more. But here it is, a totally different matter. So take note, I didn't just tell you that the only sphinx entitled to exist is right in front of you now. And what about all the others? And all the rest is a profanation of the sphinxes. One with a human head, lion body, or in the form of a pure lion. And here Shadrin talks about the lion with the head of a falcon, saying it's the only sphinx that has a right to exist. I'll need a few hours to tell you all the nitty-gritty, the whole story that led to the spirit of the mountains. Falcon-headed Boh. He rehabilitated his father, Osiris, Horu, son of Osiris and Isis. Osiris and Isis are the same being. They are Amun-Ra, but in different forms, in female and male. Isis conceived from Osiris, incidentally from the dead Osiris, when he was killed by Set, this malicious embodiment of the god. Irdila is a mountain, not a god of Egypt, a mountain spirit. But Osiris, who before his murder by Seth, still in the ancient Egyptian kingdom, the ruler of Egypt, leaves the earth and forever becomes the judge of the dead. He will never set foot on earth again. But he appointed his falcon-headed son, the spirit of Horus, to rule Egypt too. And here is this sphinx, just right. And it indicates that what's up, Egypt, just a single cycle. Well, the fact that the body is a lion, it's just a direct indication of royalty. Yes, it is not a question, it is not discussed. Here, the question is in the head. From the head, the falcon is the head of the mountain, so here is this figure. This is the image of the mountain reigning over Egypt. Who is Pharaoh? Pharaoh, he is a human, neither to give nor to take. There is nothing divine in it except for one thing, that it is a repository of the mountain. Egypt has one ruler throughout all the dynasties, Nom Spirit, and he needs a vessel, a living one. And such a living receptacle is the pharaoh. including Amenhotep. So when the pharaoh is depicted with the body of a lion in the form of a sphinx, it's number 3. This, in fact, is an imposture if it comes to that. Therefore, these figures are pure lions. Not just like that. He's kind of like the manager guarding Egypt. It's like him, but not him, not his head. He understood this very well. Either you have a lion's body and a hawk's head, Horus, you're just a lion. There shouldn't be a third one. But there it is. There it is. In the foreground, we've already seen it. By the way, incidentally, here look, a pair of sculptures. This is Osiris, the king of the dead, and his falcon-headed son Horus. Osiris and Amon's shepherd worked. Asokologolovi. Spirit is spirit, it's his son, divine son. But not God, but not God, but not God. So, what you see in the foreground, Amenhotep's Sphinx is a serious claim regarding the fact that Amenhotep is the pharaoh of Egypt, not the mountains. And the degradation of the mission of Amenhotep and any other pharaoh to the shell holding the spirit, a handful. This is actually rudeness towards the ruler, with all the ensuing consequences. Egypt is an authoritarian space, undoubtedly. But still, fear of God. Egyptian pharaohs were present for this very reason. We encounter such sphinxes as if alternative, as if compromising, not offending the dignity of the pharaoh and not offending the dignity of the mountains. The efforts required to create such sphinxes are colossal. It's hard to assume that it's for the sake of an artistic image only. Right, isn't it? Right? So what are we thinking about? About the fact that everything is not just like that. Even brighter than Eliade, and not only him. And the same Zubov, and the same Kozlov, and Goran, and Braille, and many, many others. Both religious scholars and paleoethnologists testify that the image for the ancient man, and Norman Davis above all, for the ancient man, it is a vessel of the essence, and of course for the Egyptian, that's why the Sphinx is set up in front of the pyramids, in the tombs, anywhere. Not for beauty, and not for massive propaganda, as one might think. It is a vessel of the essence of the mountain. The mountain must have a dwelling like a spirit. If suddenly there was a change among the pharaohs. So, what is this essence? The Egyptians distinguish two essences. It's Ba and Ka. Ba, as many think, is the soul of the deceased. No, no. Ba is the power, personal power, given by Omon-Ra to accomplish great deeds, i.e., to implement the so-called karma. And what is Ka? Ka is the divine idea of you. Ka exists even in gods, even in Amun-Ra himself. But there are no gods in Egypt. There is one god in different hypostases. Few understand this detail, but it's not crucial. Let there be gods for convenience. Actually, it is. Just a manifestation of one. God. He has an idea of himself that is his own Ka, and there is his own Ba. The strength required to reach God, Ka for implementing Ka, for realizing its calling, the pharaoh's calling to be a reservoir of essence that is in the reservoir of the mountain. But the calling of a mountain that is to Hagora, this to rule Egypt. Therefore, here's this Sphinx. is, if you like, a temporary dwelling. Mountain. Until Pharaoh knew, or the new one, can't yet accept the spirit of Egypt's ruler, and the old one can no longer accept because he has entered the kingdom of the dead. In this way, judging by everything, and in general for today, a lot of new information may come in, completely denying what I just told you. But for today, creation of such sphinxes, or like Queen Hatshepsut in St. Petersburg. This is in general as if, in a certain sense, the word sviatotatstvo, because on one hand, the ruler of Egypt is a mountain living within the pharaoh's body. On the other hand, the pharaoh has his own ka, meaning his destiny, and her own servant, handed over by the riot police as a force to implement this K. She needs to go to the hideout too, for now. The deceased pharaoh awaits resurrection there in the afterlife. He resurrects there in the afterlife. Not in this one, but Ba and Sha. There must be a receptacle, and such a receptacle is a statue. But the statue must be a mission is needed, Pharaoh. But is ruling Egypt his mission? That's the question. Whichever way you look at it, it's puzzling and unclear what to do. So, undoubtedly, among other things, driven by sycophantic motives, the Egyptians also created sphinxes, which sort of hint to us that after all, the pharaoh rules Egypt with the spirit dwelling within the mountain. So it seems the priests settled this matter. But as you know, priests easily settle any matter. To be continued. And they allowed to create sphinxes as a repository of Bay and Ka. Pharaohs with the body of a lion, but also with the face of a pharaoh. Sometimes, when it can be, the pharaoh's conscience awoke. He made lions like you see now on the screens, without much pretension. This is, most likely, just an artistic image that reminds servants in general, who is worse. But he is not a vessel of the essence of the pharaoh, is not a vessel of his Ba, forces, given by Amun-Ra and Ka. Both personalities are mission, both entities created and served by the Almighty, not for beauty, but for monumental propaganda. Do you feel how everything is tangled? How everything is mixed up? And what do we read on Wikipedia? A creature with the body of a lion and a human's head, less frequently with a falcon's head or a bull's. Well, it's total chaos. The only thing that justifies Wikipedia in this case is that data comes in large amounts every year. And what we heard and pronounced today will undoubtedly become outdated. The heritage that Egypt has left behind. Specifically, the sphinxes. This sphinx, a woman, has gained extraordinary popularity. Of course, all of this is pure mannerism. It's the 18th, the 19th century. These are sculptures that were made and installed in wealthy houses, but in this case, it is the Vienna Art History Museum, somewhere out there. Well, I wouldn't say in the auxiliary, but in such interim premises. Beautiful work, by the way. It's rare to find such quality imagery. What does it mean? And whose essence does it contain? It's from war. Of course, a man of the 18th, 19th century did not think in these categories. Especially with Christianized brains, there could be no question. But as a remembrance of the Egyptian idea, as a testament to the admiration for female beauty, and maybe so. Regarding the lady's social status, this sculpture was created. There is no longer any actual mystical Egyptian background here, but there is a graceful interpretation of that image. And what do you see here? And this is a completely modern work. The author is some Gulia Alexeyeva. These works were presented at an exhibition at the Union of Artists in St. Petersburg in 2020. I was still living there at the time. They made a very strong impression on me. Try to interpret this image yourself. I'll just say this. Look at that bird on the head. This is it. Here it is. The personification of B, of this woman. Ba was always depicted as a bird with the face of its master. This work is called the White Sphinx, and this is respectively the black one. And finally, let's take a look at this Sphinx now. It should be clear to you. I apologize for the quality of the photo, but it was taken a long time ago in the Yusupov Palace in St. Petersburg. So the quality is not great, but nevertheless, everything is visible and understandable. Who do you think this is? The princess Zinaida Yusupova. Well, to be fair, Zinida Nikolaevna Yusupova, the lady of the Yusupov Palace in St. Petersburg. And the portrait? Valentin Serov. So, I guarantee you the resemblance to the model